Welcome, NEC Hoops fans, to the NEC on the Run Hoops podcast. My name is Ron Ratner, and I'm here joined, as always, by my partner, Ryan Peters, a writer on the NEC Overtime blog. Ryan, we are 7 weeks down, 2 weeks remaining. Playoff positioning is where we're at. I know on our three-point shot, we're going to hit a lot of what's going on in the standings right now. And let's start with the top. Right now, we have Merrimack Stonehill tied for first 9-4, FDU knocking on the door at 8-4. Then we'll talk about sort of the traffic jam that we have in the mid pack right now. But I know you wanted to talk about Merrimack's week and their 4-game streak.
Yeah, it's like deja vu in Northeast Conference. Merrimack is back atop the regular season standings with a share of first place with Stonehill. And we're going to talk more about Stonehill later on in the segment. But just to get into Merrimack, they've won 4 straight. Their defense has given up a combined 0.85 points per possession in those 4 wins. That's really good. And they're shooting the ball better of late. They're making open shots. They're 52% of their twos, 36% of their threes. Very respectable in these last 4 games. And you got the freshmen going now. You got Bennett, you got Durkak, Savage, who comes over from James Madison's hitting shots, and they're just doing a really good job. On Saturday, you could see the confidence in this team. They took 38 threes in that game against St. Francis, winning that game. So credit to, Durkak, who had 12 points in that win. Javon Bennett's really going now. He's scored double figures in the last 4. And these freshmen, paired with Jordan Minor, Ziggy Reed, those guys give you production every single game. This is a scary group going into February and late March.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it. They're not freshmen anymore, those two. The minutes they're getting, what they're able to do in clutch situations has been pretty remarkable. So, Ryan, I guess my question to you is, if Merrimack has figured out some of the issues they may have had offensively earlier in the year and they're shooting the ball so well, how are they beatable? How do you beat them at this point?
You just have to defend, because I think Merrimack's going to defend you. Like, you'll be lucky to get more than a point per possession against this team. The way that they're defending, Jordan Minor in the middle of that zone, with his rim protection ability, you got to defend. So you got to make this game like a game that you win 60-55 or something along those lines, because it's not going to be a shootout against this team. Like, you just really have to get up on their shooters in the perimeter, somehow body up Jordan Minor, double him when you need to, and hope for the best.
Hope for the best. I don't know if that's a great strategy, but we'll see. All right, let's talk about some of the great games we had last week. Some amazing finishes. Why don't we start with Sacred Heart and St. Francis University out in Loretto in our ESPNU game last week?
Yeah, the Pioneers were led by as much as 17 in the second half, but Josh Cohen could not be denied in the post late in that game. He was fantastic. He finishes with 27 points and eventually the game-winning shot in late overtime. And, Sacred Heart had their chances. They're up 1. The baseball pass to Raheem Solomon doesn't convert. Nico Gillette had a couple looks, both in regulation and in overtime. He had a great look at the three-pointer for the win, but it just didn't fall. And just a great game, back and forth game for both teams. And now Anthony Latine is still a house of horrors at DeGaulle, 0-10. And if he's got to go back there for the NEC tournament, I don't know how they're going to deal with that.
It's a tough place. I was out there. Great NEC basketball game. All the credit goes to the Red Flash, because they could have packed it in midway through the second half, but they chipped away. Once Cohen got going, it became a game. And then it's just about who makes the plays in the end. Let's talk about some more plays that were made. That St. Francis Brooklyn Wagner game earlier on Thursday. I was out watching that game. I was actually sitting with Rob Krimmel watching the finish of that game. Wow. Delani Hunt starts it. DeAndre Howell South finishes it. Why don't you take us through?
Yeah, that was another blown lead too. St. Francis Brooklyn had a 19-point advantage in the middle of that second half, but Wagner, Donald Copeland's team has great resolve. They have great fight, and they were chipping away as well. And then Delani Hunt, what can you say? Just going coast to coast and kind of the running 3 to send it into overtime. But credit to Glenn Breaka's group. They did not fold up in the overtime. They could have very easily done that after, giving up that late Wagner run. But, Hal South, how impressive is he as a freshman to make that shot in the winding seconds and keep St. Francis Brooklyn alive for an NEC tournament home game.
I agree. Howell South's got potential. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. over the next couple of years. From that finish, let's go also same night, FDU, LIU. LIU, we've talked, they've struggled this year, but there's talent there. And they nearly pulled it off at home against then first place FDU.
It was a close game throughout, but then it looked like FDU was pulling away in the final 2 minutes. And then LIU just went on this run. Malatic hits a three. They get a couple other shots. And then, they have the ball down one late in the game. And great job defensively by FDU on Malatic to kind of bottle him up. But he finds CJ Delancey, who had a really good look at the rim. It's tough. It's a quick shot. I'm sure he doesn't practice that shot very often, but it was right there. They had the chance to pull off the massive upset, but I'm sure a sigh of relief for Tobin Anderson and his coaching staff to get the victory and get out of Brooklyn.
Any road win is a good win. I don't care who you're playing. CJ Delancey, he rushed it a little bit. If he had a little more time, who knows what would have happened, but a really good effort from LIU there. Trey Wood was excellent in that game. 18 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds. I think that's, when you see that out of him, you see what he can be when he's healthy. Let's move on now to just taking a general peek at the standings. We said earlier, we know what's happening at the top of the standings, but now you have 5 teams in the middle separated by 1 game. And what it looks like now, you never know, but there are 2 potential quarterfinal host spots being fought for by 5 different squads.
Yeah, remember Stonehill's not eligible, so you have Merrimack, you have FDU at the top, but then you got a bunch of teams, 5 exactly, fighting for that 3 or 4 seed, and that's huge. You want at least 1 home game in the NEC tournament. Who thought that Wagner, Sacred Heart, St. Francis, PA, sitting at 6-6 would actually control their own destiny? But they do. If they run the table, if they get to 10 wins, heck, if they get to 9 wins, they're probably going to be a 3 or 4 seed. But curious from your perspective, especially historically in this league, like, is it possible maybe a team goes 8-8 and gets the tiebreakers to get that 4 seed? That'd be something.
It's possible. I think it would be tough. There's going to need to be someone collapsing along the way to sort of balance out the wins at the top and the losses at the bottom. I don't think you're going to have 8 teams that are 8-8 or better. So is it possible? Yes. I think 9, I think you hit it right on the head. 9 probably gets you in. Yep. So 9 for a 6-6 team means you got to go 3-1.
Yep.
The rest of the way. So, and then Central's got some work to do. St. Francis, Brooklyn, they have some work to do because they only have 3 games left. Yeah, I think so. But I wouldn't say 8-8 is out of the question. But it's going to be wild. And we've talked about it before that no matter who hosts these games, the games are going to be competitive to the point that up and down from the 1 versus 8 to the 4 versus 5, they should all be competitive. We may be looking at upset Central come quarterfinal day.
I think so. I mean, these last 2 weeks of the regular season are going to be fun. Even you look at the last day, you got Sacred Heart, Central Connecticut. You got, Wagner going to Loretto. Those are huge games. And, St. Francis, Brooklyn, if they run the table and they're sitting there at 8-7 on their final day, they have a chance as well. So it's going to be a lot of intrigue in this league, in the final week for sure.
Can't ask for anything more. That's our 3-point shot. Now it's time for our open mic, and we welcome Stonehill's Andrew Sims to the room. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Matt, thanks for having me.
All right, let's get to the elephant in the room right away. There's 3 people on this podcast, and only one is missing a tooth right now, and it ain't me and Ryan. So what happened? And just give me the background on this story. You look great.
Yeah, I appreciate it, definitely. So now just a few weeks ago, in the middle of a game, heat of the game, just got an elbow to the face at one point, but no big deal. Tooth got loose a little bit. They've been fake for a few years now. So it got loose and just kind of fell out over time, and woke up this morning and had no tooth. So it's all right, but getting it fixed soon. So it's a good look for now.
Well, I'm glad we're able to capture this moment for the rest of your life now from the podcast. You'll always have this to remember your missing tooth.
Yep, exactly.
All right, let's get to some hoops action. Stonehill in first place, 9-4, headed to the last 2 weeks. Been an exciting run up in New England for you guys. Let me ask you this question. Your last game, you're playing St. Francis, Brooklyn. You get in that zone, 30 points, 9 out of 10 shots. Did you feel it? Like, was everything just working for you at that point?
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially in the second half, I really started to feel it, started getting going. But again, it's like credit to my teammates. You know, they were getting me the open shots and they were feeding me the ball. They had confidence in me, telling me to attack more and keep on going, things like that. So, you know, once you find that groove, it's kind of easy to feel and get shots to go in. And you know, my teammates, they were getting me open shots, and credit to them because they're the ones that are knocking it down and spreading the floor for me to give me those open shots. So. Yeah.
How was that transition for you? You played Merrimack, struggled offensively against their zone, moving back into a man against St. Francis. What was some of the differences that you noticed that enabled you to get these good looks?
Yeah, I mean, just going against that Merrimack zone, it's ridiculous. You know, they're really good at that zone. They've been doing it for years now. When we played them back in my freshman year, you know, so we've been going against that for a little bit. But you know, when you go against a zone like that, it feels like there's nothing open, and you can't really get a pass off or a shot off. So credit to them and their coaching staff for, you know, the great defense that they put in. But you know, once you get after that, and you get into the game against St. Francis, and you go against the man-to-man, the floor is a lot more open. It feels like it's every shot's more open, just because of how elite that their zone really is, and things like that. So it's credit to Merrimack, and then credit to St. Francis also. You know, they play tough defense. They deny. So we knew that the floor would be a little bit more spread open, and be allowed to work more down low for the post for me. So really, that's just kind of the big difference is, you know, it's just a little bit more open for us.
Yeah, Andrew, I haven't really seen you play obviously until this year, but your post play has really impressed me this season. You're more efficient in the post compared to last year. I mean, I'm digging into the analytics, and you're really good on the left block this year, especially in D1 compared to D2. What has changed between the two seasons? Like, you know, between playing at Division II and Division I? Because I've asked a few players, Isaiah being one of them, about the differences, and a lot of them say physicality. You're someone who's in the interior, down low, so you're actually absorbing all this contact. Is physicality the biggest difference going from D2 to D1? And how has your post play actually improved despite that?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the biggest jump is physicality and size for sure. And it's two things that I knew coming in the season were going to be an effect for my game and things like that. And honestly, just credit to our coaching staff. They're the ones that put me through the workouts, got me great workouts, got my finishing to be what it is. So really credit to them and fighting with me and, you know, hit me down low as much as they could. You know, again, the pads and everything like that. They put me in a lot of training this preseason to get me to where I am now. So it's really it's credit to the coaching staff because they're the ones that put me through that work and got me where I need to be.
Yeah, it feels like maybe you have a little bit more room to operate this year because you have better shooting at Stonehill. How is the shooters, especially like Max and you know, Shamir and you know, Josh and those guys, you know, the way they're shooting the ball, how has that helped you in the post and kind of giving you more space to operate?
Yeah, definitely. It's been tremendous for me. You know, like I said earlier in this, it just spreads the floor so much for us. You know, having shooters, and then we're so deep too with shooters. I really think, you know, 1 through 16 can really shoot on our team. But our main 8 guys, they really can knock down a 3 if they need to and things like that. So it really just spreads it so much for me and allows me to operate down low because you kind of have to pick your poison. If you want to double, you're leaving at least one shooter open, and then you have to leave and rotate over, which is just leaving so many shooters open on our floor. And that's what we've game planned around. You know, you can't leave us open. There's not really many right decisions for us or for other teams to make against us. So basically just that, you know, the shooting's just opened up so much space for me and allowed me to do some work down low. But again, it's just credit to my teammates because they're the ones that are making the shots to open that space for me.
Andrew, let's get to the important stuff. Let's talk some Jersey hoops right now. We're in Jersey now. We talked a little bit about this. I think back in the when we did the photo shoot in September, you got yourself, we got Josh Cohen, we got Nico Gillette, Rob Higgins, and some young guns now. Dirk Hack, DeAndre Howell South, Zion Bethea. First of all, have you seen any of these guys on the circuit along the way? And 2 is, or B, whatever, is Jersey ball the best ball? Let's go.
Yeah, I'll answer that question first. 100%. We just had this argument in the locker room the other day, actually. Jersey has the best basketball. We got 3 or 4 All-Americans in this year's game too. Jersey's got the best, hands down. But other than that, yeah, no, I've played against a few of the guys in this league. I know Cohen was on Jersey Shore Warriors, which is the AU team I was a part of. Then a few of the other guys I've seen throughout the league, a few other St. Francis guys I've seen. on the circuit and things like that. And just being from Jersey, seeing them playing high school, it feels like a tournament. They're playing after us and things like that. So definitely seen them, and I'm happy that a lot of them are doing well and playing well. So it's great to see Jersey, putting themselves on the map and continuing to do that.
And your impact on Jersey hoops, you got some looks when I was researching years back. Hofstra, Hampton, some other Division I programs were looking at you. Take me through the process of ending up at Stonehill Division II with Coach Kraus, and why you ended up going there despite the Division I interest. Because we know this day and age, kids are always craving those Division I offers, and they're typically holding out for those. So why did you make the decision to go to Stonehill?
Yeah, no, definitely. I had a few reasons. To start, I love the coaching staff. When I was getting recruited, and the different coaching staffs I've had and been fortunate to have since I've been here has just been amazing. Me and Kraus had a really good relationship in high school for like the year and a half or so that we talked. It was great getting to know him and things like that. And he really treated me as a part of like a family here, which I really liked. And he never pressured me into, committing to Stonehill or anything like that, where like other schools kind of was leaning towards like, we really want you, like, commit here now, blah, blah. But, Stonehill was always like, whenever it's your time, whenever you're ready, you can commit. If you want to commit, if you're not, we're happy for you wherever you end and things like that. So that was like one of my main reasons. But other than that, the family aspect here has been a huge thing for me. When I came on my visit, they preached that the players. It wasn't even the coaches that had to tell me. The players were just kept repeating that this is a family here. We hang out on the weekends. We hang out as much as we can. A lot of guys live together and things like that, which was something that meant a lot to me. Just coming into school and having that family aspect. And then lastly, the campus is just gorgeous up here. It's one of the best small campuses you can probably go to in the country. It's a beautiful area, and I love the city of Boston. So couldn't really go wrong with this decision.
Andrew, let's talk a little bit about the rest of the year. There's no postseason for Stonehill this year. So your season is ending in 3 games, 3 games to reach your goal. I think we've asked this to a whole bunch of players this year. Like, obviously, what's it going to take to do that? You got to play those last 2 games on the road. Those are going to be, those are going to be tough to close out. Merrimack and FDU are right there. What would it mean to Stonehill, to you, to your teammates and coaches, to be able to come in here and win the league in year 1? And 2 is, what do you need to do to make that goal a reality?
Honestly, it would mean everything to us. This is what we came into the season as our goal. And honestly, I got 1 tooth missing. I'd give them all to win the NC. Like, I would do anything. That's our dream. That's our goal. And at the end of the day, we're doing everything to win those 2 games and win these last 3. It's important to win out right now. We've been trying to treat every game like a playoff game, because this is our playoffs. It's kind of win or go home for us at this point. Being tied. You got to kind of win out and hope that the other teams, unfortunately, lose. But, it's part of the game and things like that. So that's what we want, and hopefully we can do that. And then to get there, we just got to keep doing what we're doing. We got to stay focused, which we've been doing as a team. Keep that going, keep that mindset of our goal. Just win the league, win as many games as we possibly can. And if we do that, I think we have a good chance of winning out and hopefully taking the conference with us.
Well, there you go, Andrew Sims. He's down a tooth, but it doesn't matter when you're dropping 30s. Hey, by the way, I heard you say in the post game you had this trying to get over the hump to get 30 points. You hadn't gotten there. When was the last time you scored 30 in a game?
Jesus, my last game of high school, actually. Last high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I had 30 on the dot. Haven't had it since. And any game ever, it didn't matter what it was. Get to 20, didn't matter. Couldn't make a shot after that. Could be a half left. Did not matter. So
did anybody else know?
And Ron, he scored 30 points in a game where Stonehill only had 62. So that's even more impressive.
Yeah, that was impressive. Did your teammates know about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially the guys I've been with for a few years now is Zay, J-Mac, and Shamir. They were telling me don't choke and don't fold. Don't fold these last 2, because that's what it came down to. Was the 2 free throws with 20 seconds left or whatever it was. And they're saying just don't choke it. So if you look back, I was laughing at the free throw lines because they're chirping me. It's my own teammates telling me not to choke. It was good.
All right, Andrew, thank you for giving us some time. I know it's busy for you. We will see you over the next couple of weeks, and best of luck to you and the rest of the Skyhawks.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Now we're going to jump into our heat check, and we will start with the mid-range maestro himself, Ramir Moore at Wagner.
Yeah, it's been a balanced approach at Wagner offensively for sure, kind of an all hands on deck mentality. But Ramir Moore is really playing well, averaging 12 a game in his last 7. And his embrace of, as you mentioned, the mid range game has been so impressive. Think about these numbers, Ron. He's shooting 65% on his short jumpers from inside 17 feet. He's shooting 48% on those long mid range jumpers from 17 feet to the 3-point line. That basically puts him in the top 10 percentile of college basketball with those numbers. So he's making those shots. Sometimes they're tough shots or fadeaways. He's got a defender in his face. And when you kind of pair that with his ability to get downhill, don't forget, he's a Atlantic 10 guard who was recruited to that league. He's physical, 6'3", got a big body, especially in that league. You pair that mid-range shooting ability with that downhill ability and finish around the rim. And it's a tough guy to keep in front.
He is. You notice at the end of games now, they'll come out of a timeout and it's clear out time. And let's get the ball to Ramir and let him go to work.
Yeah, I always thought Ramir Moore would be one of the best scorers on this Wagner team. It just took him a while to get going. My bold predictions early in the year, I called him. I thought he was going to be Wagner's best scorer and potentially a top 5 scorer in the league. And it just took him some time to kind of get into the flow. He had a couple of injuries early, missed some time, but he's really starting to play well now. And he's a real weapon for Donald Copeland as we get closer to the NEC tournament.
Let's move on in our heat check to Central Connecticut's Nigel Scantlebury, who had a terrific second half in Central's win at FDU. That was a big win for the Blue Devils. They needed that. Huge. If they have any chance of being a top 4 seed. And Scantlebury struggled a bit in the first half and was amazing in the second half.
Yeah, great 18-point performance. He made some big jumpers in that second half. He went 8 of 8 from the line. That is huge. Central Connecticut, I believe, off the top of my head, went 26 for 30 in that game from the free throw line. In a 1 or 2 possession game, that's huge. That was the difference for them. And Scantlebury, it's kind of weird to put him in this segment because we all know what a great player he is. He's coming off a good year under Pat Sellers. Struggled a little bit this year, but he's really kind of getting it going. And it's no surprise when he scores in double figures in league play, Ron. Central Connecticut's 5-2. So if he plays well, the Blue Devils are as dangerous as any team in the league.
This week, our stat chat will feature St. Francis Brooklyn big Josiah Harris. Ryan, if we had a true under-the-radar player this year in the league, it'd have to be Josiah, right?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about him much, right? But here he is. Look at his defensive and offensive and rebounding rates. Right now, he's 30.3 in defensive rebounding rate. That is 3rd in the country among all Division I players, 3rd. And then, offensive, he's getting an offensive rebound on 12.7% of the Terriers' misses. That's also an excellent ratio. And then you kind of pair that with his defensive impact. His rim protection, he's in the top 150 nationally in block rate at 5.3%. So he's just doing an incredible job for Glenn Brake, shoring up the interior of that defense and offense. That was a big problem for the Terriers last year, but he certainly kind of delivered the goods for the Terriers and kind of helping them become more tough and rugged down low.
I've been saying it all year. There's a lot of really good forwards/centers in the league this season. And Josiah Harris is right up there with pretty much all of them, right?
Yeah, no, he's got that physicality. He comes from junior college, but he's already got that build. And Glenn Brake has a track record of developing junior college players, without a doubt. You can talk about, Antonio Jennifer or Chris Hooper or guys like that. I mean, and Harris is just another one of them.
2 NEC TV games this week. We open on Thursday with, this is a big one, Ryan, Wagner and Central on ESPN Plus, 7 p.m. This game could go a long way in determining seeding the following week.
Yeah, this is kind of a must-win for both teams, but especially Central Connecticut. They have to run the table if they want a realistic shot at getting a 3 or 4 seed, as we alluded to earlier. And you look at the matchup between these two earlier in the year, Wagner did a great job containing Amos, Scantlebury. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what Pat Sellers does in his adjustment to get the ball in his stars' hands more often. And also, too, there's an underrated part of this game down low. Rob Taylor potentially out. So you're going to have Fletcher and Keontae Lewis, who did a really good job on Saturday for Wagner against LIU, slugging out against Momo and Jaden Brown, who's played much better of late. Under the radar, Jaden Brown, 5 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 blocks in that performance against FDU. And so, whoever can control the glass and win the points in the paint battle, I think that's going to loom large in that matchup.
Another big game on Saturday, CBS Sports Network, 2 p.m., Merrimack at Sacred Heart. Pioneers really need to defend the pit here, right?
Yeah, well, you look at the Warriors, they're 2-0 career at the Pitt Center now. Joe Gallo's 2-0. You know, the first game they ever played at the Pitt, Javaris Hayes had a bunch of pick sixes, and, you know, the Merrimack was the first regular season game of their NEC career, and they won, and then they took off and went 14-4, won the regular season. So this one with Sacred Heart's going to be tricky. You figure Brandon McGuire's out, so he was available in the last game, and he had 6 assists against that tough Merrimack zone. So, you know, moving the ball against that zone is going to be critical, making outside shots. They only made 4 threes in the win against Merrimack. They're going to need more production out of guys like Joey Riley, Nico Gillette, Mike Sixsmith. And, you know, if you're Merrimack, you know, you want to take advantage of the, you know, interior presence of Jordan Minor. You figure he's going to get the ball very often. They're going to post him up. Does Sacred Heart come down with a double and force the freshman to shoot the 3? They've done much better of that of late if you're Merrimack. But good chess match here between two good friends, Joe Gallo and Anthony Latina.
Along with our 2 TV games, you can check out the rest of this week's slate on NEC Front Row and on the NEC On the Run series of mobile and streaming apps. Great show as always, Ryan. Looking forward to next week. Next week will be our last regular season podcast before we head into the NEC tournament. Exciting games on the schedule this week. Every game has meaning. Looking forward to seeing how it all falls out in the standings. I'm sure next week will be tiebreaker central on our chat, right?
Yeah, there's gonna be no boring games here. You know, every game has interest, especially in the NEC tournament and that seeding, because you got to get in the top 4. It's critical, and teams are going to be gunning for that for sure.
There you have it. Thanks, Ryan. We'll see you next week on the NEC On the Run podcast on the NEC Overtime Pod.